Welcome, everybody, to the post-statistical analysis that is the Prediction League's breakdown for the WWE League. As we look at the highs, the lows, the mediums, and in between. Did you score perfectly or did you flunk? Let's go ahead and find out in the latest edition of Predictions League Breakdown at the Backlash in Tampa Bay, Florida. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back in here once again to the Cements brand and PapaGino collaboration. That is Predictions League Breakdown. You know what this is. For I'm the Cement, the Super Brand, the voice source, that's for great football, special wrestling. Damn it. And my name is Noah Foster. So thank you all for tuning in. We're live around demand. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. And of course, let your predictions be known in the chat as well. And support and subscribe today to PapaGino. Without further ado, my compadre who is there live at Backlash is now here to give you the aftermath through stats. Dino, good to see you. How are you? How was your experience first and foremost?
Yeah, I definitely had a good time. It's definitely there's definitely a difference between when you're watching a show on the television versus when you're there live. You notice some things that the TV doesn't pick up. You don't notice some things that the TV does pick up. And like we discussed last week on Major Push, like what's more important, making the live crowd happy or the TV crowd happy, right? I felt as a live attendant, overall, I felt happy from the experience. And from what I heard, our loudness was noticeable on the broadcast, which is super important to me as far as a TV viewer and somebody live. Like I want WWE to know that we're having a good time, so they keep bringing shows back to Tampa. Will they be able to afford it? We'll have to see on the next one.
Well, that's a whole different conversation when it comes to affordability versus entertainment quality. But overall, I'm glad that you had an incredible time there. I'm also glad the contingency of the Florida gang was able to enjoy Backlash. You, C-Rod, Dwayne Atkinson, and Matthew, of course. Shout out, by the way, to C-Rod. Welcome officially to the WPLE League. You did very well in your first outing. But again, you're going to have to leave an impression if you're going to make it to the top 10 of the leaderboard. Just saying. But yeah, I definitely completely agree when it comes to the outlook of the home experience and the live experience. And I'm glad that you were able to embrace the noise and the atmosphere that was the WWE Universe in front of the GOAT, which of course we'll talk more about that on Major Push Wrestling. Stay tuned for more on that, folks. Because boy, was that an announcement groundbreaking. And very unique. Dave Scheffler, and speaking of C-Rod, today's name he appears. Good to see you all, of course, in the chat. And again, for a B level that I thought was going to be C-, I gave it a C+. It was still fun to call, and they definitely gave more wrestling than they did at WrestleMania in a single night. So I figure without further ado, PapaGino and fellow predictions or enthusiasts of stats and, of course, wrestling outlooks post-show, whether you were there live or watching from the comfort of your own home. Let's get right into it. So again, this was Backlash Tampa, and of course, we continue the WPLE Predictions League. This was, of course, event number 4 in this year's league for 2026. And we had basically 5 matches, and Madman and Riff had 2 bonus points. And I must say, there was some unique outlooks. I don't think there's going to be a lot of trends as far as, polarizing thoughts with some of the matches here. A lot of it was definitely predictable. But then again, as I always like to say, predictability isn't a bad thing. So before we get into things maybe by column or by title or by unique, and I do mean unique, grudge or showcase, here's the whole picture for you all for the entire team of 20. Pretty consistent across the board. There was a top 10 that scored the mean score of 6. And as you can see by one of the columns, it was absolutely unanimously wrong for a certain housing. But nonetheless, it was pretty back and forth. It was fun to score and experience. And of course, I had to have Gilbert in here too to make sure. That's why I love this. The fact we got a perfect 20 because the percentages come out so nicely. But in this case, Gino, you and I, we tied. So with that being said, where do you want to start?
Why don't we just start left to right the way you've got it done? I do see that somebody picked Asuka, so we'll get to that because that threw off our unanimity there. But let's go ahead and start with the United States Championship.
All right. Well, again, I think we all could agree that Sammy needed to be whooped. He was not going to whoop that trick. he could whoop a gingerbread man, but after just losing the title of WrestleMania, I feel like this was a no-brainer. It almost felt like to me we were just spinning our wheels without cookies and milk. Like, what are we doing here? Who are we chasing? Who's chasing who? Where's the Muffin Man from Drury Lane? I'm kind of over this feud, if I'm being perfectly honest. Where's Ilya Dragunov? Where's Camilla Hayes? Where's somebody, Canadian or non-Canadian, to challenge Trick Williams? Because this is ridiculous. Sammy, you lost the Royal Rumble. You lost at WrestleMania. You lost here. Back on the line, in the catering. Start picking cookies. Maybe you'll get more relevant then, or make poutine. Enough. I don't think there's really much more to say here. Trick Williams is the coolest face since sliced bread, and you don't need a bunch of ones in your mouth to see that, even though it's your name, Lil Yachty. At this point, I'm just waiting to see how Trick Williams basically represents the U.S. And clearly he's not going to do it by open challenge. But I think it's safe to say with a record of, let's see, what's the score now between Trick and Sammy? Oh, that's right, 0-2. Who's the 0? Everyone's favorite Muppet from the Underground. Well, that's debatable right now. Gino, I think it's safe to say we got to be done with this grudge. And I don't think you're surprised by the result at all, are you?
No. Everybody was joking that I was going to jump the railing to go hound John Cena. But when I was at the Seth freaking Rollins and Becky Lynch coffee shop appearance the morning of Backlash, Cena actually stopped by. So take a look at the socials for all of that. Everybody was hounding him, obviously, but like I was, I can.
You had some decorum, I hope.
Right, because at the end of the day, I got to see him year after year after year before he was famous. He knows who I am. I would like the opportunity to talk to him again and all those things, but it was really cool. And then he was there for literally like 5 minutes and then left. So I had the opportunity to get up close and personal, so I was not going to jump the railing at that moment when I saw him at the arena. Now, if Sami Zayn had won this match, there would be another potential for me to express my frustration. Now, obviously, I'm not condoning jumping the railing. I would never actually do that.
Don't.
This is all in jest or good fun. If you don't know what jest means, I know Noah does. But to those watching, it's super just joking around. We would never do that. But I don't even really know why they needed to have this match. I'm a little perturbed because I picked Sammy to win at WrestleMania because I figured that they were going to have a Backlash opportunity. And let me just say, his entrance, when you are there live, it is just amazing. I mean, visually, yeah, they do a great presentation on screen at TV, but being there live, being able to chant "whoop that trick," like, dude, it was very loud in that building. I had to, call me a baby if you want, but I have to wear earplugs sometimes to super loud things because like I start to get this stuff in the left side. Same thing with IMAX movies, like I saw last night, but that's another story for another day. It had to be Trick Williams. Lil Yachty was there. We had the candy cane. I just don't understand who thinks this is appropriate for my man Whoop That, because why do we have Gingerbread Man involvement? And I honestly didn't even finish watching SmackDown, even though I love Trick Williams. Like the Gingerbread Man funeral, I was told it was a 45-minute long end of SmackDown event. People were leaving.
Gosh.
People were leaving the show early, and it almost feels like they know because they're in Jacksonville that maybe a certain fan of another company, a lot of them were going to be there, and they were just like, well, here's poop, because that's what it would have been, and that's what it was. But every single person picked Mr. Whoop That, Tricky 2 times. He should not be losing. Sammy was the true heel. I don't know if it came across that way on TV.
Booed out of the building. Although it's interesting you say heel, because Trick Williams is the definition of Hollywood heel magnet. He feels he's above all of us, smells like money, worth Benjamins, despite the fact ones are being given out to the audience by Lil Yachty. The fact of the matter is, though, they pay homage to the very first United States champion, Eddie Guerrero. They both tried to lie, cheat, and steal, but Sammy got distracted by Lil Yachty in the end, and it cost him, as it took one trick shot.
And I do like that. Like, we were talking as we were walking to the arena. We were downtown all day. The Miz drove past us in his vehicle, and somebody had Danhausen face paint on, and he pulled his window down and was like, "It's not a curse. And this girl went nuts because it was a girl with like she ran after him, trying to think. We're like, who was it? Because he drove right past me. All I saw was this nice WWE Vegas jacket. But we'll get to that. It was a really fun experience. So I'm going to be interjecting memories of those 2 days into this. But yeah, man, like it had to be. I'm glad that it came across. I actually started that first Sammy sucks chant from the level that and then it happened one other time during the match that I didn't start, but it's very fun and vindicating when you could start a chant. It's really difficult. It's harder than you'd imagine, folks. So but yeah, I mean, there's nothing really more needs to be said. Unanimous. Everybody got that right. Picking Sami Zayn would have been dumb for us to pick, and would have been even dumber for WWE to pick that as well.
Right? That's putting it politely. But what was more polarizing and extremely competitive as I expected, talk about a game of mental warfare and physical endurance. Good Lord, you definitely saw a banger, and shout out to C-Rod, who saw the Messiah, burned it down against Braun Breaker. Talk to me about the outlook of that match and feeling. Again, you and I, we both got it right because we felt that Braun Breaker, he needed to win to continue the storyline. If he's going to prove Seth wrong, he's got to outsmart him in his own game. Hey, folks, remember the Shield? Seth Rollins pulled out the same trick, whether or not he was with the Shield or with the Authority with Stooge 1 and Stooge 2. The two Stooges now are just named Austin Theory and Logan Paul. Nonetheless, though, this was an amazing match, and I do think there's a little bit of debate whether or not Braun Breaker could have did it without the little distraction. In the end, he still got the win on his own, outsmarting Seth with the Avalanche Curse stop into a spear. And I thought this match was very well done, and I look forward to their next one. Now the record stands as far as we know the main roster goes. Braun 1, Seth 0. You look at recent memory from the NXT Championship on, it's 1-1, but that was before Braun was main roster bound. I don't think you were surprised by the result, but I'm pretty sure the audience was waiting to see how many spears it would take to put down the maniacal Messiah.
So, speaking of Seth Rollins, again, I mentioned that we were at the coffee shop with them. He didn't want to sign stuff, you could tell, but Becky was a sweetheart. Becky has a fan for life. I already thought that wrestling is better when Becky is here and Becky's a champion. But Seth Rollins, you could tell he was even playing with his beard. He wasn't really smiling that much. He wasn't happy because the coffee shop maybe didn't do the best job. It was associated with Baron Corbin, all these things. And like people were just trying to shove merch in his face to sign and things like that. But I actually got Becky Lynch to sign the No DQ year-end award that she retweeted and talked about her winning Female Superstar of 2025. So I got her and Seth Rollins to sign that. Which was very fun. And she's like, in a landslide. So if tonight she mentions that it's not just Sports Illustrated, it's not just Bleacher Report, it's also No DQ, we had something to do with that.
Give this man the credit.
Yeah. And, it was definitely, you could tell. I mean, maybe he just thinks he shouldn't be losing. It was his first, it was his second match in 7 months from injury. Right.
Now he is 0-2, by the way, for those that are keeping track.
Right. And, to be fair, he doesn't need the win. The industry, the company, and wrestling as a whole is better if they're building up younger stars and Braun Breaker. Seth freaking Rollins can take L's, and it's no big deal. But it's been mentioned in the chat. It's been mentioned in the No DQ chat as well. And people are saying that you're either hearing it's a 5-star classic or Braun Breaker can't throw a punch and he's a botch machine. Now, to me and the audience that I was watching it with, we couldn't see these punches not landing. We weren't that far away. We were 200 level. It's no big, you almost get a better view of everything when you're a little higher up. And that arena's great. Not a bad seat in the house. So I didn't see the miss punching and whatever, but I did see the numerous ugly Breakensteiners. And to me, it feels like I can't believe he's still doing this move where he's like, and does the thing as he's half falling off. Like that requires, like Seth is so good, he made that not look terrible because
exactly.
Like it could have looked really bad. Now I haven't rewatched the event. I plan on rewatching it soon. I'll have time between tonight and Friday SmackDown to watch that, but I will be looking for those punches And now this is the second pay-per-view in a row, premium live event, where people are criticizing Breaker's authenticity when it comes to connecting on his moves, the fist or the spear. Now, again, in the audience, we couldn't tell. But you couldn't get away from the amount of people that were screaming botch every time he missed it. They, to the point where when he did it and Seth was supposed to land on his feet and kind of did, people thought that was a botch, even though obviously Seth was supposed to land it. So we
everyone's their own freaking critic.
Right, but it's tough because it's Seth. It's the second match in 7 months. People are saying he looked winded. Probably they're thrusting him right back into the main event scene after an injury to his shoulder. Yeah, he probably still could have been doing cardio, but it's really hard to run and not have your shoulder bouncing up and down. So he probably wasn't able to do a lot of cardio and get back into ring shape. And he's older, so it's just all these things. But I picked Braun Breaker since this is a predictions breakdown. But obviously, I wouldn't be going into this as much if I wasn't there. But I picked Braun Breaker.
Different aspect.
Exactly. And I picked Braun Breaker because, like I said, the industry is better. The company is better. Everything is better. Building him up. I'm not a fan of him personally. Like, botches or no botches. I just think, like in Game of Thrones, if you have to call yourself the king, you're not the king. If you have to call yourself a badass and write it on your clothing, like, you're not a badass. It's almost like the jackass gimmick with Tommaso Ciampa before he left. It's like, come on. But I could have seen Seth win. Aaron made a great point on the predictions video on Thursday for Seth winning. Usually the face wins that, but I just don't think that they should be doing this. And he was like, well, Braun got over on Seth twice on the go home show, but I've been saying it feels like WWE is not trying to make their guys look weak, even if they're going to win at the pay-per-view. You might as well keep them looking strong, because kind of that's how the real world works. But yeah,
to a degree, I get that. But let's just think about this. Also, looking at trends. Remember when Cody Rhodes was betrayed by freaking Brock Lesnar, and he kept on attacking, and freaking instigating the beast. Brock kicked his ass every freaking night up too, and Backlash, Cody survived. He escaped the Kimura and almost with a broken arm. I mean, all it takes is 3 seconds. Gino. For all we know, Aaron could have thought they were going with the same trend here, with Braun Breaker and Seth and Rollins maybe having a trifecta feud. We know we got Clash in Italy. And then, of course, Brock and Cody, they ended off at freaking SummerSlam. For all we know, this could be a program going through SummerSlam. And as far as Braun Breaker's capability and execution, guys, he's only been on the main roster for 1 year. He is a Steiner, but he's only been involved in the ecosystem of pro wrestling business since NXT now for like 3 years, amateur wrestling now for, I guess, 10 years, but amateur and WWE are a whole different ball games. Give it time. At the end of the day, we were talking about this prior. He needed to stand, deliver in his own way to show that he could hang to this degree. And I think he did. I do think there were nerves here. I do think there was some uncoordination, but as pointed out ad nauseum by Seth Rollins included, without the house show circuit, there aren't those chances to get the reps in to better execute and plan for a match. So you got to consider that. And for what Seth and Braun did in their first main roster match, despite the one botch I definitely saw, we try to pull Will Ospreay and round the clothesline into maybe a power bomb, I thought the two definitely told an awesome story of further things to come. And with the more matches they have together, maybe it'll be a clean execution. But yeah, maybe Braun Breaker should not go too many times for the Frankenstein or the spear. He does need to add a bit more dynamic to his offense. I do agree about that. But again, still young. Just saying, still young.
Yeah, and you mentioned the amateur, which is real, and you're really trying to take somebody down. You're really trying to do these things. And I had mentioned it on the WrestleMania thing that we did. Like his spears to me didn't look bad because you want to keep the person safe, right? You don't want to actually punch him in the face. You don't want to actually break him in half, apparently, unless it's I show speed. But that's
I don't mind that, to be fair.
Yeah. But it's really difficult for somebody who can actually throw a real punch to do it believably a fake punch. Like you see this all the time when they bring in UFC guys to like movies and stuff like that, like Conor McGregor and George St. Pierre. Like, it's really hard for them to switch their brain from throwing a punch through your skull to where you're stopping before you even make contact. And so Braun obviously needs work on that. And I as much as I don't like Braun, I'm actually not criticizing him for that type of stuff because I'd rather him work safe than hurt somebody, especially somebody who was very, very annoyed potentially by me at the meet and greet, and then who knows, he's losing 2 matches in a row, and but this is the whole thing, like, this was always going to be leading to Braun Breaker. At the end of the day, the vision was leading to Braun Breaker, period, end of discussion. And I could see people thinking that Seth Rollins maybe wins this first one, but if Braun is supposed to win this whole thing, then he needs to win the first one, lose the second one, win the third one, because if he lost this one, then he's got to win the second one and then potentially win the third one. WWE, we know they like to go back and forth. So to me, it was obvious. It made the most sense. It almost didn't make any sense to have Braun lose his first match back. So whether Seth just got back and already lost his first match back, Braun needed this win more, and that's why I picked Braun.
And it all made sense, honestly. And again, to your point, the last time Braun was involved in a match not involved multiple people, it was against CM Punk for the World Championship. He lost there. So both men going in here basically on losing records. Someone had to get a dub. And in this case, it made sense for Braun Breaker. As it also made sense for the next match that was let's call it what it is, the opener of the main Backlash card. So there was 3 matches left. And you got half-size entertainment, if I'm being perfectly honest, Housen. And, you witnessed Danhausen live and everything that came with it without a curse. So that being said, I don't think no one was surprised that Danhausen and were going to win. But I do want to point out something very hilarious. I've never, ever put on a prediction stat form unanimously wrong.
Well, there's a first time for everything, Noah.
Gosh.
So I would like the opportunity to again address this, and then we'll discuss why we predicted what we predicted.
Go ahead.
Leading into it, the night before I went to CVV Chris Van Fleet live with Joe Hendry, and I sat right next to his family and his girlfriend, Gia Miller from TNA. And I was the only one who had the courage enough to ask her for a photo. So, and then people were like, oh my God, that must be somebody, right? Joe did point to his family and stuff, but you could tell like they were brought there after everybody had already filled in. It was kind of obvious that they were special guests and not just, normal people coming in. And then once I heard them talking, his mom and dad, obviously from Scotland. So I had the opportunity to be near them and do all that. But I was thinking to myself, he's not going to be able to make it to SmackDown tonight. Because it was like 4:00 start time. And it was about a 3-hour drive to SmackDown. Now, he did leave right away. He was going to stay after, but then he's like, I can't, I have to go. So maybe I was like, maybe he's going to try and find a quick way to get to SmackDown and be on SmackDown that night. He wasn't. So I was like, I really wanted to pick Joe Hendry, and I didn't get to watch all of SmackDown, but I knew he was on it. So when I was making the predictions, and then I saw Danhausen be told, the only person that will want to team with you is yourself and the mirror, that's when I messaged you and I put in a new prediction because it was still within the time limit that we had to switch to CM Punk, because I thought CM Punkhausen was going to be coming out with the face paint and doing those things. I did not actually see the cloning machine part of SmackDown, so I might have gone Minihausen. The guy 2 seats over from me before the match even started, before anything, he said it's Minihausen is who it's going to be. So I almost wish that this guy could have contacted me. And shout out if you're watching live, because he did subscribe to my channel while we were sitting there.
Nice.
But yeah, so I went from Joe Hendry because I was like, well, why is his family here? What if SmackDown's not in Tampa, Raw's not in Tampa? Like what purpose? He's not really just going to be here for the live podcast. I was wrong, unless they were coming in early and then they're going to be on Raw tonight but it's like not in Florida. So I just didn't make sense to me, but everything was leading to, and then everybody was talking about Jelly Roll this, Jelly Roll that, because Brian Alvarez, apparently he's allowed to get information and say that's going to be Jelly Roll. It worked on Aaron. It might have worked on you. So before
because the history with Kim and Kip Wilson, I was like, damn it.
And that's what I was thinking. Jelly Roll has history with Kit Wilson, but I wanted to pick that, but I was like, it just doesn't make any sense. He literally just said the last time we saw him, maybe we should go back to where we belong type of thing. So I was like, it would be really foolish for him to kind of come back. Now, I do want to continue to see Jelly Roll, but to me, I almost wanted to will into existence that it was going to be CM Punk.
Same.
We all picked.
I almost would kick my ass.
Yeah, now we all picked Danhausen and Mystery Person to win because Danhausen's undefeated. He's not just going to lose a match like this. And everybody's saying, and I just want to say, the whole arena, I don't know if you could hear it on the television, but at least the section I was in, the energy was freaking sucked out of the building when Minihausen came out.
Yeah.
And then I will say, though, that the kids were enjoying it. I could tell. There were a lot of people there with Danhausen face paint, and technically a Minihausen is essentially a kid with Danhausen face paint on. No offense to the many people out there. I'm sorry if it came across that way. But, and I was literally like sitting on my hands. Like I was just booing. I was booing. I was not happy. I was not having a good time. But objectively speaking, what was given to us was entertaining. I will say that. But I wasn't happy because I let freaking speculation get the best of me. Now, it's not the same as letting the dirt sheets get the best of you and your expectations are high because of the dirt sheets. The betting odds, the only person that was minus money was CM Punk. The only, and I was trying to use my head with the Joe Hendry thing. And then I didn't want to pick the Jelly Roll because of that. But it's WWE's fault. It's WWE's fault. When they tell us it's going to be a mystery partner, they set us up for it's got to be somebody that.
Right.
So that's on WWE. I'm not mad at El Danito. I'm not mad at Danhausen. I'm certainly not mad at The Miz and Kit Wilson. They can do no wrong in my eyes. But then they had the opportunity to have, when he went back into the cloning mission,
something better. Yeah.
It could have been full-size CM Punkhausen, and that would have been super fantastic. Again, I'm fantasy booking, and I do understand that, my expectations or my speculation became expectation, and sometimes that got the best of me. And everybody's like, they should have just announced Minihausen beforehand. And in my defense to why they didn't is because if they had announced it, say at the SmackDown prior, or the week before, or the Raw, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the only surprise besides John Cena's announcement. And the thing is this. Your expectation versus execution is a whole different combination when it comes to even predictions. And also, Danhausen, he's the definition of a carny. He's the definition of entertainment. You shouldn't put your expectations that high with this guy in the same sentence. The result was obvious as far as the winner. The only freaking thing was Aaron Ripp was trying to get everybody over on a point. I'm also going to do something very special I've never done before for the first time ever. I'm going to show you the Galaxy's predictions for Taghausen. Because amongst the 20 people in the team and the 24 in the Galaxy, out of 44, I can't fucking believe, but this proves how statistics work, Gino. Arlene guessed it right. She guessed Mini Danhausen, the only one across the entire ecosystem of No DQ predictions to get it correct. As far as I'm concerned, she won the whole damn night.
Very well done. And, between the clone machine and the writing on the wall, and it's almost obvious because they came out at WrestleMania. I get all of that. But as far as the people that are saying they should have announced it beforehand, if they had announced it prior, people would have been shitting on it the entirety of the time leading up into the match. Why is this on a PLE?
Yeah.
What is the point
to begin with?
Right. But if it was CM Punk, then it would have been like, okay, well, that's why it's on a PLE. But Danhausen, he's very over. They were sold out of his signatures. They were sold out of his signatures at every merch stand I went to.
Probably not John Cena. Them.
Dude, he's over. Let's just I don't hate that.
This is the only. I'm not dissing Danhausen. I'm not John Oliver tonight, but I'm just saying when it comes to me in wrestling, and I look at PLEs, I think about competitive showcases, but I also still remember that at the end of the day, WWE is the land of sports entertainment. And entertainment is subjective and objective, just like anything else in life, whether you're a Pepsi drinker or a cola drinker. Pepsi products for life. But yeah, it's just one of those things, though, that I just wonder now. Okay, Danhausen, you cursed the Mish, you cursed Kit, you beat them both, and you used 7 mini houses to do it. What the frick else are you doing right now with these two? Are you done with them? Are you done with this? Do you want to go after gold? Is everyone going to believe you're going after gold? I don't know. But it's like, okay, where do we go from here? What do we do now?
Right. So we will have to see. But, saving this for a surprise, if they were always going to do it this way, it only allowed the internet to be upset for like 5 minutes, because then they went on and did entertaining things. So like anybody that thinks they should have announced Minihausen beforehand, obviously not. I think they made the right decision, if you're going to have Minihausen, to not announce him, because then you could only get upset. But the issue with, and Dave mentioned it in the chat, is it hurt the beginning of the Asuka EO match, because we were all still like upset and let down. And they didn't let us down once, they let us down twice, with the opportunity to then switch it to a full-size person who we do have history with from the fans' perspective. But having said that, what they've delivered was entertaining, but every single person was picking Danhausen to continue his streak of cursing and winning, and that's what he does.
Yep, across the galaxy and across the team. But again, congrats, Arlene. You guessed Hausen right.
Ah,
damn it!
But again, it was telegraphed. We just didn't see it.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I get it. What I did see, though, was an absolute Joshi Pro strong style clinic with 2 women, long-term freaking history, not just in the Fed. And again, for the fact that this match was so damn misconstrued story-wise from the story being told in the WWE right now, saying bon voyage to Kairi, this match, I fucking loved it.
So again, I was still upset after the Danhausen stuff.
I understand that. I walked away and grabbed a cold drink, non-alcoholic, and my partner on commentary grabbed a freaking American Weekly vodka. Took 1 shot, but still, it's like, how do I wash this away?
And I will say, it's a testament to Asuka and EO that they were able to bring the crowd back into it. About halfway through the match, everybody was over the Danhausen nonsense. And I don't blame them. Yeah,
I don't blame them.
They were killing it. They were absolutely killing it. And the most memorable spot, maybe of the entire evening, was the mist into the booklet on
portfolio. Yes, that was so damn brilliant.
It was. And from where I was sitting, I could see everything perfectly clear. And I still couldn't even see her going for it. So I know the trick of the camera. They're not going to show her like holding on to it. But it was perfectly timed, perfectly executed. The only problem I have is I definitely saw some on her arm, and if it's supposed to be poison, I would have liked her to be like, act like it still burns. Whatever. That's nitpicking. But this match should have started the show, because, it shouldn't have, because it's good enough to be second to last, but the Danhausen thing should have been in between these 2 matches, just because of, technically the breaker and the trick match was before that. So I get that they were splitting the show up kind of that way. But if I was watching ESPN and I decided to buy the app for a month, or figure out the complicated way to log in through my cable provider, I would have not been happy with that first thing. Like nothing comes across as less realistic and less authentic than mini wrestlers getting the best of former WWE champions. But again,
Grand Slam champions, that might I add.
2-time.
That's right.
But Io and Asuka, they killed it. Again, the over the moon salts, the Asuka locks, they were really bringing it all out. And we were kind of suspecting in the crowd, you could almost feel like it was her last night. And then the post match happened, and she was, crying. Now they were chanting, I don't know if you heard this, "We want Kairi," and I was chanting, "No, we don't," because I was discussing to people nearby me who were like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what's wrong with you? Stick up your butt, whatever." And I'm like, okay, so they cut her, or she wants to go back to Japan, whatever, and then they bring her back for 1 night to help make this make sense, because everybody's talking about she was the main focus of the story. I disagree, but okay, so what happens? She leaves Asuka and then what? Joins up with Io, or is by herself and then gets cut anyway? Or no, or you bring her back for 1 night for Backlash. She turns on Asuka or turns on Io and then goes away again. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So that's how I was justifying that. And we were going back and forth, agree to disagree. But this had to be Io. Whether or not Asuka was leaving the company, Io needed the win. Io is still more on the rise than Asuka is and was. Nothing against Asuka, but they really hurt her, and everybody's thinking that, well, she should at least come back for a WrestleMania win or whatever. I'm like, so now she's got to stay with the company for another year when they clearly don't want to make her win at WrestleMania.
I mean, she's already rode that wave back to the WWE after she was formerly an IWGP Women's Champion. I said it once, I'll say it before. They already brought her back. Now she's like, go again. You're going to bring her back again? How many times you send someone through the revolving door just because you paid them more money and try to say, oh, so sorry. For me, though, I look at it like this. Kana and Io Shirai go all the way back to Japan since literally prior to 2010 across multiple promotions, both as rivals and as tag team partners. Kana, of course, one of the most lethal combatants out of Osaka, Japan, survived Minoru Suzuki, came to WWE, was the undefeated Empress of Tomorrow for NXT. Io Shirai, daughter of Stardom, former World of Stardom champion, came in through the Mae Young Classic. Both women literally set their own pace. Took a long time for Io Shirai to finally figure out herself after she became Women's Champion, of course, after turning on Candice LeRae. And then, of course, main roster, if it wasn't for Mommy, I still wonder, will we still respect and understand Io Shirai and hold her in the same regard as she should have been for the long damnest time? Shout out to Uthman, by the way, in the chat. As far as this goes, though, in a battle that truly was about teacher versus student, literally younger versus senpai, eventually the student must surpass the master. And Asuka has done everything. But again, Io Shirai now, it's a new chapter. No longer Rio, because Rio's right now trying to make the SmackDown roster relevant. It's one of those things, though, that right now Io had to win. And looking at the record multiple times over outside the WWE, there wasn't much from a single standpoint, but there definitely was a lot between freaking trios and tags. For me, though, I've looked at the trends this year and the last couple of years. Michael Satomura and other greats, Nana Takanishi, multiple great women of the Joshi circuit have kind of retired. Sakashima just retired in Stardom. So it's one of those things looking at that aftermath and that embrace and what they did and again, there are very few wrestlers that match what Io Shirai and Kana are capable of still in this business. Damn it. It really does feel like to me that Asuka was kind of giving us a swan song, but maybe also pass the torch towards the next leader of maybe not just the WWE Women's Division, as you should be, but honestly, maybe the Joshi circuit. Because seriously, what more does Io Sky need to prove to anybody after surpassing her own freaking mentor? This was a very touching embrace, but it left me with more food for thought in its aftermath. And yeah, Kyrie, I get it. The storyline, spinning backfish. Should have did that the Raw at WrestleMania. Or should have did the match at WrestleMania and pulled the trigger there. Stop thinking about Kyrie, folks. She's gone. Bon voyage. And maybe Kyrie Hoja will be a champion once again because she's no longer being underestimated by the Fed. For what these two needed to do with everything that's happened, with the tag housing underwhelmment and the releases of a story player, this was the best that Io Sky and Asuka could do. And honestly, it wasn't my match of the night.
Yeah, there was, and I mentioned the word botch earlier with the Seth Rollins Braun Breaker stuff. It's not a term that I had actually asked CVV what his favorite botch or Mount Rushmore botch was, and he mentioned, and then we did that off camera, so that because I didn't want to really call attention to people's mistakes because that's not what I want to do. He did mention Titus World Slide, by the way, but which was fantastic. But knowing that does exist, knowing that there are people in this crowd that will be pointing out botches and things like that, this match seemed to be free of botches from what I can remember, and it was just a fun time. Again, I had to get over my severe Johnny Gargano level of disappointment with the Danhausen reveal two times, and but they really burned the house down. And it deserved to be second main event, regardless of whether I thought that the card should be rearranged because of the Danhausen stuff. But Io Sky, literally, I don't get it, but I get it, if that makes sense.
Exactly. That's the way to interpret it. I love that you did that because from a wrestling standpoint, look at the wrestling history. This was beautiful, made perfect sense, and was probably the best singles match. Shades of the mentorship of brotherhood that Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles sharing their last match of Saturday Night's main event, which is probably my favorite match they had in WWE, period. Probably matched up to Wrestle Kingdom for me to a degree. what Kana and Io Shirai have done now with Asuka and Io Sky in this match, that could be a swan song for who was once known as Kana, was beautiful and perfect.
Yeah, I did see some jokes online, and I made one in the chat that WWE really messed up not having Gunther retire Asuka. So I was joking, if Asuka's on Raw tonight, expect a Gunther squash match. But if that was her last match, she went out with a bang, and she will definitely be in AEW sooner rather than later. And I bet that they will allow her to go undefeated. Yes, there are a lot of people on the roster. There's not a lot of spots. But yeah, I mean, if I was Tony Khan and I had all these toys in my toy box, I would definitely make room for Asuka.
The beauty of Tony Khan and AEW this year, he's focusing on his roster and his partners now to try and build the stars. Let's see what he does with CMLL's Persephone and Mystical. Let's see what comes from the Forbidden Door with Stardom involvement. And it's already got top 4 of insert number here of his female athletes fighting over the AEW Women's World Championship at Double or Nothing, the marquee show that started it all. I think he's doing all right now with the women's division.
Sure. But also, if you bring in a veteran that people know and you have her putting people over, I think that strengthens the other women that you're trying to build up.
So I do agree about that.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Too many spots. Both rosters, Gino.
Yeah. I mean, again. And speaking of that, we didn't even really address. I mean, I addressed it in the chanting of "We want Kairi, no, we don't." And this wasn't just because I predicted she wasn't going to be there. It was because I truly thought that of all the things that I've heard recently that make no sense, bringing her back just for this to me made no sense. Seemed like you were on the no side. I'm not sure if Song and Walter and some of the other guys just wanted her to be there, so they predicted that. But there was and I heard it was more than 50%, depending on what I was seeing, and that she would be there. And I was like, no, I just don't see it. And so any reason why you said no to that?
Because I'm not an idiot that believes that a bunch of yen is the reason for an angle that's more underwhelming than any anime you could watch on Crunchyroll or rewatching DBZ Goku coming back to life from the Dragon Road. Yeah, not happening. Seriously, they already screwed the pooch on this prior to WrestleMania. If you think any different, then clearly you think that WWE is some sort of reality show that likes to rerun drama for a bigger wallet more times over with anybody. And they don't do that. At the end of the day, they're cutting the fat to make sure that Nick Khan and Ariel have a bigger wallet size. And unfortunately, Khan was the aftermath of that. Like I said, if it means that Kairi Hojo goes back to Stardom or becomes IWGP Women's Champion and takes on Shuri for that title, yes, please. I'm all for this. I just don't think at this point, you've already missed the boat. With this one, there was no reason. And honestly, I don't think even with her being back, would have rectified this. It had to be a no. You couldn't convince me otherwise. I don't care how well of a long-term storyteller and fantasy booker JJ is. He sucks at predictions.
Yeah, and I think you spiked our viewership with all of those Japanese and anime references because
Japanese wrestling is the freaking standard, damn it, especially in the Joshi circuit.
And so is Pokemon. So is sushi. Just Japan does everything great. I know you don't like Pokemon, but you've trashed on it all year.
Don't start, Gino. Don't start.
Let me just build it back up a little bit. But you mentioned Goku, Son Goku, big Dragon Ball guy.
Super Saiyan. Yeah. Super Saiyan no
DQ. He's great. Go check out his channel. But he also predicted
champion multiple times. He's the one that I freaking lost to last year at a tie.
Dang. Damn it. All right. Yeah. So with that down, we had our main event of the evening. Almighty.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
And let me just start by saying this. Again, we're almost the theme of the day is what it's like to watch on TV versus being there in person, which is again is a pickup kind of what we talked about on my show last Wednesday. But I think this is apropos because on the pre-show, whether you were watching or not, when I went to the arena, the Usos were coming out. I actually got to high five both of them on the way back into the arena from the post show because it was done outside of the arena or for the pre-show. And we for sure thought the Usos were going to come out. Why have them there other than because they live in Tampa and I've seen them multiple times at this arena?
Your own question right there.
Right. But still, like you're kind of setting the expectation that they're gonna come out and help Roman. Why wouldn't they? It makes no sense. Like, come out and help Roman unless they're gonna side with Jacob. So we will see how this plays out, I believe, tonight.
I guarantee you there's going to be something from this tonight. I even said it before on predictions. It's not about the match. It's the aftermath. Y'all know what I mean?
Yeah,
the
aftermath
was going to happen after the match itself, that Backlash, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And also, Zilla Fatu was in Tampa doing a signing at Dave Batista's gym. So that also was something that we were like, maybe he's going to come out and do something. So we thought something. But at the end of the day,
fair enough,
as a viewer on TV, if I didn't watch the pre-show and wasn't there live seeing the Usos, I would have thought, or I'm just happy that we got another non-interference finish for a Roman Reigns championship match, because 4 years in a row we had nonsensical. You can overbook it, but at least have him show that he can do it alone. And then the one time he can't, he loses. You know what I mean? Like, no, let's just make Roman look strong. Jacob Fatu looks strong in defeat. I hate that terminology, but he went over with the beatdown at the end of the show.
Over the general statement.
Well, from where I was sitting, I couldn't see Roman Reigns foaming at the mouth or anything like that.
That's fair.
We were also, and the arena is so good, you don't have to look up at the Titantron. Like, you can watch what's going on and still feel like you're seeing it, which is why I love Benchmark. But him pushing Adam Pearce, or what he did to Adam Pearce, was what really popped my crowd, because they were like, you're like, throw Jason Jordan wherever you want. Throw Jamie Noble wherever you want. Throw glorious Bobby Roode anywhere. But when you put your hands on the GM, like, that's going to have repercussions.
Oh, yeah.
And people were like, well, Roman's going to be gone. This is writing him off of TV. I was like, he's gone in June. Guys, days and months have existed for centuries. There's a lot of time left in this month, and not only one, but two premium live events. If you consider Saturday night's main event premium live event, which I do, because it's only on Peacock now and not on NBC, and it goes longer than 2 hours. So that's two premium live events. So Roman Reigns is going to be there.
Yeah, and the thing is also, again, like you said, looking at trends of the past versus the now, Roman Reigns says he wants to do this on his own. He says he wants to be full-time. Proverbially, he's the baby face, even if you want to call him the heel. At the end of the day, he was about defending his bloodline, the family, generations to come, while one man was literally there for his own individual solo family, yet he represented his bloodline, Haku, with the Tongan Death Grip. The thing about this match goes like this. Nobody expected this match to happen at Backlash following WrestleMania. There you go. Sorry. Based on what both men did at WrestleMania. Still brands with LL whether or not Jacob Fatu is fully signed on Monday Night Raw or arrested tonight. And as far as Roman Reigns go, people already got an agenda planned for Roman where the freaking empire might fall to a certain ruler. But that's a whole different conversation for another time. The thing about this match, though, was for me, how do you make Jacob Fatu feel like a main event player for a world championship and still protect him in defeat? Because if you thought Roman was losing here, you might be a little bit off your rails here, considering Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, who sells the ticket, who moves with the merch, who's the biggest star, the biggest star in the freaking company, the THE all caps. For me, though, I had to consider right now, they're just spinning their wheels towards what we think is going to be the end game, or they're trying to brew what I think is going to be a bloodline civil war, not a family feud hosted by Steve Harvey. It feels like to me we're just on the verge of a civil war between Tongans and Usos, the Haku, Apasika lines, da-da-da-da-da-da. There's a reason why trees have branches on opposite sides, even though they share the same trunk. I couldn't see Fatu losing. For me, though, the fact that Fatu went AWOL on Roman Reigns afterwards definitely tells me this is far from over, and they're going to continue this to the point I think we're going to get tribal combat. Hell, it was virtually that. At one point, I was like, why wasn't he disqualified? The turnbuckle. Again, Roman survived. Desperate. Boom. Fatu. Facebook turbo. I don't know if you heard it in the building, but it was pretty close to being 50-50 at one point with the chance, if not throughout the match, especially when Fatu friggin' showed Roman Reigns, you have no control over me. I'm not beneath you. I'm above you, son, as you lay underneath my feet. So it's one of those things right now that we just got to wait and see if Fatu is supposed to acknowledge his tribal chief. Was the very first line that Roman fed him with when Fatu says, I need that championship. or if we go AWOL again and somehow this gets run back under a more violent stipulation. But come on now. Roman is not losing this championship less than a month after winning it. Get real, folks.
I will say that at some points during the night, like when there were 50-50 chants, there were people shouting for both wrestlers. And this was one of those times, even myself, like I'm not a Jacob Fatu guy as far as winning world titles or holding championships. To me,
Fair enough.
he seems, what's up, Money Mac? He seems very, he should be the unpredictable badass. He should be this person who is, if they're really playing up his, like, he's too rough or rugged or whatever, for lack of a better term, to be in the WWE, in the Fed, in the corporation. And to me, I just don't really want him to have, like, it just didn't make any sense. But I'm not against Fatu. I do like what he's doing sometimes. I don't want him to just be a catchphrase machine, but I also don't think he should be holding the world title. I think that the industry is at its best in 2026 when Roman Reigns is a champion, period. And I mentioned this on the predictions video that every single promo image had one wrestler front and center, and the other wrestler was turned to the side looking at the camera. And every wrestler that was from behind turning to the side looking at the camera was the heel in the match. And Jacob Fatu was that in the image. So I predicted a heel turn from Jacob Fatu. That wasn't a bonus point. Whatever. I guess I'll just have to take it. But he turned heel on Roman. And, like, dude, all weekend, if that music was playing or Roman Reigns was mentioned, people, no matter where you are, one's to the sky. Like, he's just so over. People love him. I work with a lady who's like in love every time we mention Roman Reigns, because one of the students I work with had a Backlash shirt because she was there. And the lady I work with is just like, oh, every time it's Roman Reigns is so hot. And I'm just like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, lady. And that it makes sense. Because
Chick Man apparently. There you go. And also shout out the fact he has his old Def Rebel theme back without the crazy over dramatic laws. It's almost like, okay, it's just the tribal chief at his best.
Mm-hmm. And I've said it before. We talk about female wrestlers all the time and their looks and stuff like that. But wrestling as a whole is aesthetic sport. So whether you're male or whether you're female, looks matter. Just look at Mason Rook and all the heat he's taken for his look, and you'll see that wrestling is an aesthetic sport. So objectively speaking, that's all it takes for somebody to be a fan of somebody is they like the way they look. And I really hope that they play into Jacob Fatu playing up to the way he looks, which is rugged, which is non-clean, which is violent, which is aggressive. Right. Like, I don't want him. He's here now. I want him to start getting himself suspended. He pushed Adam Pearce, so we'll see. I want to see him start to have these things, because having like mouth surgery because something's going on with your tooth, not the most badass thing in the world. Besides, we don't even know who really attacked him and all those types of things. So, and who was he talking to on the phone? So many hanging threads. We'll have to see. Maybe Zilla shows up tonight, but it's just, it was a very fun way to end the night. And Roman's music hit. Well, no, but he still got up and made us acknowledge him. His music hit. I don't know if it was on air or off air at that point.
Post show.
Yeah. And but we were still there in the arena, showering him with praise, acknowledging our tribal chief. And when they announced that he was from Pensacola, Florida, like, crowd pop. Like, I'm very proud of the crowd that we had, because there's nothing more that ruins a wrestling event. Bad wrestling, bad storytelling, bad booking, whatever. If the crowd is quiet, or the crowd is not engaged, that's the worst thing that can happen. And we saw that at Skydome. So with that being said, I picked Roman Reigns, like you said, because he's not going to be losing. I was thinking to myself, if Jacob's going to win the title here, why not just have him win it at WrestleMania?
Right?
It would have done more for him beating that Oofman. Oofman says, come on, Gino. Clearly he was on the phone with Pat McAfee. And that would make sense. Pat McAfee needs to remind these guys that they are killers. And I love it. But we had a lot of fun and hanging out with the No DQ guys and bringing some of my friends around them and all these types of things. C-Rod now, you've met him through the videos and stuff. Now he's in the thing. Like, this community is just growing and growing and growing. And it's all thanks to Aaron Rift and the NoDQ.com and all of those things. Like, obviously we have to be cool guys and want to be friends with each other, of course, but Aaron created that community that allowed us to get to know each other. You do great work with your guys, your JJs, your Casa D18 studios, all the stuff. I always try to come in and show you guys some love, even if I'm one eye open about to fall asleep.
I appreciate it, man. It's all good. But again, it's not about me. It's about wrestling. But nothing but love to you as well. And like you said, I mean, again, since 2017, discovering No DQ and being out there as a professional wrestling fan, it's just been nothing but a fun time all the time ever since then. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboards because, again, the average pretty much across the board was about 6-5. With, again, I also want to point out with the fact that Arlene was the only one that got tagged on the right, she's the only one that got a perfect night, a perfect 7 points across the entirety of the 44 between the team and the Galaxy. So, again, Arlene Dominguez, great job. But that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboards. Of course, I acknowledge the Galaxy always because at the end of the day, you start up being part of the Galaxy and then you see what happens when you shoot your way towards being part of the team, much like many of us have, including Colin Andrew, who was in the chat earlier. And again, C-Rob, welcome to the league. You got 6 points overall. So again, great job. But here's the top 25 of the Galaxy led by Greg Aldis. You know, folks. And the Atlas Michael Wayne, who was the inaugural No DQ Galaxy Predictions League champion, as well as my friend Ashley Reynolds, all tied in third place at 31. But still, anybody's game here. So again, don't miss a show, folks. You can see what happens. Rob, you might hurt yourself, bruv. Again, great job, Arlene. Only won the entire thing with a perfect score. And then as far as the team, from the general class to the VIPs, if you know what I mean. Here's the updates. Still a dead heat between me, Caitlin, and Steve-O. Aaron, he dropped down 1 point. 31, though, still in second place. Dwayne Atkinson, one of the Florida boys. Florida represent. 30, Gino, just nipping there at 29 alongside Oofman. But so far, after I would say the first third of this year's league, it's still a dead heat for pretty much anybody across, I would say, Colin and above. The 21s, I think they're pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, but again, we're going to have these couple events coming up where we're going to get bonus points and we're going to have.
Oh, I know Aaron's going to try his best to manipulate this bonus Galuza.
Yeah. And I'm just glad that I really didn't like the whole Kyrie bonus point thing. So, but we did it. And I'm booing Oofman because, I think I should be above him in the order of the names, regardless
I just do what
of
Excel
the
does. I show no favoritism. I show no manipulation. I organize from freaking largest to smallest, and I'm guessing Excel's like okay, put it in this order.
Yeah, you're a better man than me because if I was tied for the lead, you best believe you'd see my name above everybody else's. But I digress. What a great league, guys. This is the people at the top are not getting perfect. So you still have the opportunity to get perfect, but they are getting tied for the most correct results in a row. Arlene Dominguez, shout out to the first perfect predictions night of the year.
That is correct.
Congratulations, Arlene Dominguez. Very well done.
Darn you. And darn it. Darn me, Halvin! Damn it! Curse into hell!
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that made me happy about that is I knew nobody predicted it except for Arlene. Great for you. But I was like, yeah, it's really not going to affect me overall. But yeah, this is one of those things I always say, don't let your speculation become expectation. But when we're betting on this thing and we're making these predictions, it's like, you do kind of care. And one last thing I want to say, if you are planning on going to a WWE event or an AEW event, but WWE does it, from what I understand, a little bit bigger than when I went to the AEW show last time, Make sure you go there early. I know they don't let you in until about half hour beforehand, but the pre-show is done outside the event. They've got this wonderful thing. If you go to my Instagram, they give you a world championship to hold, and they give you your own little entrance. It's not like Fanapalooza or whatever. It's just, you know, you have like 20 feet of space, but really had a great time doing that. Really proud of what we got to do. Got to high five people, meet people, made some friends in the wrestling world. Like, you're just around a bunch of people who love professional wrestling. And if you're like me and you have a decent amount of friends, but none of them are really into wrestling, like, this is, you know, make a day out of it. Don't just show up right at the time unless you have to because of work or whatever, but do what you can to really take in the full experience. Go to the store, go to the things.
You won't do all the things. Just do it, folks. Do it.
Just do it. I will say this. The store had higher prices than online did. Maybe they think that, and maybe they think that, you know, the saving on shipping is worth it. But, you know, if you go to the store before you go to the event, you don't have to wait in line for merch at the arena, and the merch at the Backlash pop-up store and the things that they do. Very fun. You know, guys, professional wrestling is so much fun to be a fan of. Yes, it comes with our stressors. Yes, it comes with frustrations, just like anything else in life. But if you're loving professional wrestling, make sure you do your best. If you're going to pay the money, try and get your money's worth. And I feel like I definitely did.
I'm glad to hear that. And I hope that everyone that was with you, and even those that were inadvertently with you that you didn't know, share that sentiment. As I always like to encourage, just your life and enjoy professional wrestling. So that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Let's go ahead and tell where the people can find us this coming Wednesday, Gino. Talk about your brand.
Yeah, we need to update this graphic. I'll have to send you a new one.
Give me a new graphic, bro.
I know it's not Noah. Noah's the man on the ones and twos. He's doing everything he's supposed to. Come check me out on YouTube, PapaGino0017. Subscribe to the channel. We do Major Push Wrestling on Wednesdays, and also you can find me on No DQ Review most Tuesdays. And shout out again to some of the guys, Noah, Dave, Oofman, C-Rod, Matthew, Dwayne, for coming on and joining me. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really gracious to be able to do this. And for all of you guys watching, whether live or on demand, give a like, give a subscribe, and then head right over to Noah's channel, and which is what, Noah?
If people wish to find me, they can try if they choose. Annan Foster, 1916, on the X or on YouTube. For I am nothing more but a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it! Reminding you, there are no winners, no losers, no bears, just fans with opinions for this passion we all share. So at the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, protect your mentality too. Treasure your families, just for life, and enjoy professional wrestling. It is truly as simple as that.
Thank you so much, everybody. And with that, the Backlash breakdown is in the books.
And we will see you next time. A ridiculous breakdown after we go double or nothing with all elite wrestling. Until next time, make a positive impact in life. Have a good night. And we'll see you next time here in collaboration on the PapaGino Network and the Superman's brand. Have a good one.